Janashalakaya chaksurunmilitam jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam jena bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadandigam Aradhanastranandandai Vridam Yache Puna Puna Sima Rupa Padam Bhujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Panchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhuvevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. So this particular month that is ending today is known as Chaitra. In our Vaishnava calendar, I forgot, what do we call this month? Huh? I know, but I can't remember from Vaishnava calendar. I can't see that. Nobody knows the name of this month in Vaishnava calendar? Anyway, locally this is known as Chaitra. Second month of springtime. Spring began from the Basant Panchami. In fact, this full moon of the month of Chaitra is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because every time there was Rath Yatra, Sriman Mahaprabhu, he would join in the Rath Yatra and he would dance not only in front of the cart, not only behind the cart, on all sides of the cart simultaneously. Not that sometimes he was front, sometimes he went back, sometimes side, sometimes other side. But only those souls who were very fortunate could see that Mahaprabhu was dancing in all the kirtan parties. There was kirtan party in front, there's kirtan back, and kirtan on both sides, and Mahaprabhu was dancing in all the kirtan parties. But only those who were fortunate souls, everyone else saw that he was sometimes in one party, sometimes another party. One time, Srila Rupa Goswami was present, and Mahaprabhu began singing cinema song in front of the Rath Yatra cart about some young girl pining for her old boyfriend. Everyone became very astonished. Why Mahaprabhu sings cinema song? Swarab Damodar, he was also surprised. He spun it around his mind, then he understood. Rupa Goswami was present there. He also heard this song. He thought about it for a while. Then later, after Rath Yatra, he was staying in Siddhabakul along with Haridas Thakur. Many of you have been to Siddhabakul, huh? How many people have been to Siddhabakul? Not very many, huh? Very beautiful place. Especially for us white-skinned people, this is a very auspicious place because Rupa Goswami stayed there, our Haridas Thakur stayed there, and Sanatana Goswami stayed there. They never entered Jagannath temple, they stayed at this place. Because they felt, because they were contaminated by serving the Muslim king, that they were no longer eligible to enter the temple. So those of you with white skin, you're in good company. Haridas Thakur, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, you're good company. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Jagannath, in his form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, used to come to visit Everyone else is going to the temple to visit Lord. Lord used to come to visit Rupa Goswami at Siddhabaku. So the verse that Mahaprabhu sang, a very beautiful verse. Ye ko marahara sareva hibaras taeva chaitra shapas techon milita malati surabaya proda kadamba nila sachaivasmi tatapi tatra surato vyapara lilo vaido reva rodasi veta sita rutale Cheta samudkantate. Ye Komara. Komara means young boy. Ye Komara hara saeva hibaras. Hara, who stole my heart when I was in my youth. Ye Komara hara taeva sa. He's present before me. Taeva chaitra shapas. And what is it? It is the full moon of the Chaitra month. Sechon milita malati surabaya, and mixed into the air is the fragrance of malati flowers, and proda kadamba nila. Anil, just like you can analyze it, anil without color. Nil we know means blue, so anil means with no color. That is the air. Anybody can tell what is the color of the air? He has no color. So he's anil. Proda kadamba nila. In the air there's great fragrance of kadamba flowers. Just in a little while the kadambas will begin to bloom, and their fragrance will come. Sa chaivasmi tatapi tatra surato vyapara lila. And I am the same young girl. That same young boy is there who stole my heart in my youth on the moonlit night of Chaitra. I am the same young girl, the same fragrance is there in the air of Malati and Kadamba. But I want to go to the Reva river at the foot of the Vedasi tree. Cheta, my heart. Samudkantate. Utkant means very enthusiastic. Sometimes our enthusiasm, this is called kant, just like these are kantimala. Some of the devotees are saying kuntimala. This is kantimala. Because this is a kant. So our enthusiasm bubbles up to the kant. So we say utkant, up to the kant. I'm very enthusiastic to go back to that Reva river beside the Vedasi tree, at the base of the Vedasi tree, to be with him. So everybody thought, why Mahaprabhu singing some cinema song? So Rupa Goswami was meditating, and on a palm leaf he wrote his answer to this song, giving the explanation. And he wrote it on a palm leaf. Rupa Goswami's handwriting is described just like strings of pearls. If you go down to the Vrindavan Research Institute, you can see Rupa Goswami's, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami's writing on display there. Just like strings of pearls. So what did he write? He just stuck it in his thatched roof. He went to take his bath in the sea, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Jagannath, in his form as Mahaprabhu, came there along with Swarup Damodar to visit Rupa Goswami. He couldn't go to visit the Lord, but Lord was coming to visit him. And Mahaprabhu's attention was captured by this pearl-like strings of words on this palm leaf stuck in the thatch. He immediately pulled it down. He read this verse. He handed it to Swarup Damodar. How has Rupa Goswami understood my heart? How has this Rupa Goswami understood my heart? And Swarup Damodar read this verse. Priyak soham Krishna sahachari kurushetra militas tataham sarada tamidam uvayor sangama sukam tatapyanta kelan madura murali panchabhajuse mano me kalinni pulina bipinaya sprihayati. Priyak Krishna Sahachari Kurushetra Militas. Radharani is talking to her Sahachari, to her friend. I met my Priya, my very dear Krishna. Oh, my dear girlfriend, I met my dear Krishna at Kurushetra. Tataham Sarada, I'm the same Radha. Huh? I'm feeling some happiness in our meeting. But still my heart is longing. What is that? Tatapi yanta kela maduram murali panchama juse. I want to hear that flute playing on the fifth note. That murali playing on the fifth note. You know fifth note? Saragama pa. That's fifth note. Krishna's flute is playing on that fifth note. Where? Manome Kalindi. My mind is desiring, my heart is desiring to go to the Pulina, Kalindi Pulina, the bank of the Kalindi. Kalindi Pulina. Bipinai in the forest there. Sprihati means desire. I'm always desiring to go there. So here Rupa Goswami has described the internal meaning of this verse. People were thinking, why Mahaprabhu singing cinema song? But actually it's about Radharani. This is Mahaprabhu's bhav in Rath Yatra, that they're dragging Krishna back from Kurukshetra back to Braj. So just that moment, Rupa Goswami appeared and he offered the obeisance and Mahaprabhu slapped him on the back. So how this Rupa Goswami has understood my heart? And Swarup Damodar says, unless you bestowed your mercy upon him, there's no way. Therefore I can understand you've placed your mercy upon him. And what does Mahaprabhu? He says, yes. I met this Rupa Goswami at Prayag, and seeing him a fit personality, I have bestowed my entire transcendental mercy upon him. What did he say? My entire transcendental mercy I have bestowed upon him. So this verse mentioned Chaitra Shapas, the full moon of Chaitra, which is tonight. Now I tried to find out something about the Basant Ras Leela, because most famous Ras Leela, of course, is Saradiya Rasa Yatra, just before Kartik, and Kartik Purnima, Maharas. These two are the most famous. And that is here in this Vrindavan town. That is why actually the forest, Prabhupada describes that the forest of Vrindavan extends from the municipality that is now known as Vrindavan, 24 miles up to Nandagram. It's a huge forest. Now only we see farmland, but it was a forest at that time. But this particular spot in that forest became known as Vrindavan because here the most famous Leelas of Krishna took place, Maharas. This is the most famous Leela of Krishna, so this place became known as Vrindavan, but the forest is quite extensive. So in the autumn season, the Ras Leela is taking place here in this Vrindavan. And people are very fond of telling that in the Seva Kunj area, that's where Ras Leela was taking place. Everywhere within the Prikrama Marg, when you do Prikrama Vrindavan, everywhere within that Prikrama Marg, that was where they rested, Seva Kunj, and Krishna did Seva. But everywhere within the Prikrama Marg of Vrindavan, that is where Ras Leela was taking place, and still taking place for those who have the eyes to see. But less known, in fact I searched, even I went to ask Google Guru, there's not much about the Vasant Ras. Only I found out that it takes place at Chandrasarovar. Anybody been to Chandrasarovar? Oh, a few people have been. Just behind the Anior, everybody knows Anior, where they did the first Anakut celebration. And Krishna, and the big Krishna on top of the hill was not satisfied. And he was crying, Anior, Anior, give me more, give me more. Just behind Anior a little ways, there's a very beautiful Sarovar, very nicely maintained, called Chandrasarovar. So on the side of Govardhan Hill is where the Basant Ras takes place. And I couldn't find much information, only that in that Basant Ras, because the color of Basant is yellow. Krishna, of course, always is wearing his yellow dhoti, but he had yellow chadar, everything was yellow, yellow tilak, all the gopis were dressed in yellow. Everything was yellow and yellow, they were wearing yellow garlands, everything was yellow and 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 yellow in that Ras Leela. One of the particular Leelas of that Basant Ras Because we've heard this story before, but actually, just not far from Chanda Sarovar, there's a place called Paita. And in that village, they have temple of Chaturbhuj. Because even in that Basant Ras, Krishna also disappeared from the gopis. Just like we know in this Maharas, Krishna also disappeared. There he also disappeared. And gopis are running through the forest here and there and hither and thither and thither and hither and hither and thither and thither and hither. So Lord Krishna came disguised as Narayan with 4 arms. And the gopis just see the amazing bhav of the gopis. We would be astonished to see Lord Narayan. We ourselves would be totally flabbergasted to see Lord Narayan standing in front of us. They saw Lord Narayan. What did they do? They paid their obeisances. Immediately stood up. Oh Lord Narayan, have you seen the son of Nanda Maharaj come this way? We would be just totally flabbergasted, just like Dhruva Maharaj. He suddenly opened his eyes. He was meditating. The Lord disappeared from his heart. He tried to see him again in his heart. He couldn't see him. He opened his eyes. He couldn't even speak. Lord had to touch him with his conchal. We would be like that, completely flabbergasted. The gopis, they paid their obeisance and said, oh dear Lord Narayan, have you seen the son of Nanda Maharaj pass this way? They weren't at all concerned. We can't imagine the ecstatic state of love of the gopis. The position of the gopis is so exalted. Not ordinary girls. And Lord Narayan with his 4 arms, he said, yes, he went that way. And they all ran hither and thither. Radharani came, and the breeze blew a little of her fragrance into the nose of Lord, so-called Lord Narayan. As soon as Krishna experienced the aroma of Srimati Radharani's body, we can't imagine what that aroma must be like. As soon as he captured the aroma of Srimati Radhika, he could no longer maintain those 2 extra arms. They suddenly disappeared. And then Radharani saw Krishna standing right there in front of them. So this is the special of the Basanta Rasa Lila. But this day is most famous for Lord Balaram's Rasa Lila. And in Bhakti Ratnakar, in the 5th chapter, which has been translated by my very dear godbrother Pundarik Vidyanidhi Prabhu as Mathura Mandal Prikama, used to be available on this bookstall, I don't know. But there's amazing description of Lord Balaram's Rasayatra. This takes place at a place called Ramagat. Anybody been to Ramagat? Few. No, the one is Shergar is Kalimdan, Ramagat is Balag. There's a Balaram deity in Shergar, but this Ramagat is there at ancient Dauji. So, very, very beautiful place, away from everything. In fact, the bus can't even go there. We have to go by walking to get to that beautiful place. And so many trees. We hear Vrindavan all about trees and forests. And we came here, and Vrindavan looks like our hometown. There's big high-rises and buildings and streets and cars and But there, if you go to Ramghat, you will see beautiful, huge banyan tree. You will see Indian fig trees, largest Indian fig trees I've ever seen. Beautiful peepal trees are there, beautiful place. And just sound of the birds, just like now the heat is turning on, so we heard the kokilas begin to sing. Jai Sisi Gornitai Krishna Balaram Sisi Radha Shamsun, right on time. And just every morning at Mangalarti, it used to be very close, now farther away, but at Mangalarti time we hear the peacocks crying. So you just hear birds and see beautiful trees, very beautiful place, Ramagat. So that is the place where Lord Balaram had his Ras Leela with the gopis. And Bhakti Ratnakar describes, in Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that Bhagavan Sri Balaram stayed in Braj for 2 months, Chaitra and Vaisak. Today Chaitra is ending, this is Chaitra Purnima, and now Vaisak begins. Next is Vaisak Purnima, next Purnima. He stayed in Braj for 2 months and supplied divine enjoyment to the gopis each night. Sri Raghava continued to describe the beauty of Balaram at the time of his Rasa Keli. O Srinivas, knowing that he would perform his Ras Leela with his dear lovers, Balaram happily came to this place. This pleasant spot, situated near the Jamuna river, was continually filled with scented air. The flowers of the gardens were in full bloom, and the sky was bright from the full moon. The humming of bumblebees and the sweet whistling of different birds surcharged the atmosphere. Millions of male and female peacocks danced, and deer played in the garden. As Balaram relaxed beneath a tree, the guards in heaven sang the glories of Rohini Nandan, whose beauty and posture could fascinate the world. The following is a song. Glory to the valiant Rohini Nandan. The white conch, kunda flowers, camphor, and the silver white mountain bow down to Balaram's beautiful bright complexion. You want to hear that again? The white kunda flowers, the white conch, kunda flowers, camphor, and the silver white mountain bow down to Balaram's beautiful complexion. Also in Garga Samhita there's very beautiful descriptions similar. Shanka Kudindu Swairanga Baladev. Shanka you know means conch. Shanka Kunda. It's like now we're starting to get the jasmine flowers, but in winter time comes these beautiful white kunda flowers with just a little highlight of pinkish on them. These beautiful white kunda flowers come. Shanka Kudindu. Indu is another name for the moon. Shanka Kunindu, Swet Anga. Sweta, just like in Russian, very famous name, Sweta, means light. But in Sanskrit, Sweta means white. Shanka Kunindu Swetanga Baladev. So here it even describes even more. Camphor also is white. The white conch, kunda flowers, camphor, and the silver white mountain all bow down to Balaram's beautiful bright complexion. His curly hair, the beauty of his carefree locks of hair on his forehead, his bright tilak. With his bright tilak, he stirs the hearts of the young maidens. His lotus eyes are restless, and his eyebrows dance like black bumblebees near his bright earrings. With a short nose and a face which conquers the splendor of the moon, it seems like nectar pours from his body. His arms are decorated with bangles and jeweled necklaces, adorn his strong chest. His thin waist makes the lion feel insufficient, and his blue dress enhances his figure. His beautifully shaped thighs and feet fascinate the hearts of all who see him. O Srinivas, who can keep his composure seeing the splendor of Baladev? It was here that Rama sat on a jeweled throne in a graceful Ramotsav dress. The beauty of Baladev conquers millions of comedies, and every movement of his charms the Munis and Indras. The glory of his body, which brightens the three worlds, can win the pride of 1,000,000 moons. The silky black curly hair covering his head is decorated with a jewel-set crown and flowers. His lips are as red as bimba fruit, and his teeth sparkle like pearls. A garland of Vaijayanti dangles from his powerful neck. The reddish color of the soles of his feet defeat the sun, and the brightness of his nails conquers the darkness. I am unable to describe the beauty of Baladev, as there's no comparison to him in this world. Whoever absorbs the gracefulness of Baladev is the most fortunate person. In the Purana days, Baladev Dhyan is written as follows. In this place, Rohini Nandan Balaram stood in threefold bending form and blew on his horn, the sound of which moved the hearts of Brahma and others. O Srinivas, with one mouth only, how can I describe the beauty of Balai's Leela? Here in this moonlit Jamuna Upavan, Balaram engaged in Leela surrounded by millions of gopis. In the Upavan near the Jamuna, which was flooded by bright moonlight and covered with the scent of lotuses, Balaram performed his Rasa Leela. Then Varuni Devi, sent by her father Varuna, flowed from a hole in a tree and filled the entire atmosphere with the scent of sweet wine. Baladev breathed the scent and drank the wine with his beloved gopis in that garden. Raghava continued his story. After drinking the wine, Rohini Nandan engaged himself in divine lovemaking with his gopis. Some of the gopis played mridanga, ranika and other instruments, while other gopis sang the glories of Balaram in beautiful songs based on beautiful tunes and beats. Lord Brahma and others were moved by the music. Sri Balaram himself became overwhelmed by the dance, songs and music, and soon the Ras Mandir was filled with celestial joy. To enjoy water sports with his lovers, Balaram brought the Jamuna near by pulling her with his plow, and then he sported in her water. After bathing, Balaram changed his dress, drank honey, and spent the night with his associates. In the early morning, the gopis could not bear their separation from Balaram and did not want to return to their homes. Balaram consoled them in many ways and sent them to their houses. Out of fear for Balaram, the Jamuna offered him prayers, and folding her hands, she threw himself at her feet. When by her own quiet nature the Jamuna was flowing to the South Ocean, she did not respond to the order of Balaram. Thus he pulled her with his plow. In this place the Jamuna can be seen as she is. I sing the glory of this place with a devoted heart. This is from Stavavali. Sri Raghava told his followers that Rasastali is famous throughout the world, and devotees offer their worship at this Ramagat Pradesh. So this is so beautiful description from Bhakti Ratnakar. So on these 2 nights, these 2 months, Chaitra and Baisakh, Balaram danced with his gopis. His gopis are separate from Krishna's gopis. And some of these gopis were also those who were too young to enter into Krishna's Ras Leela at that time. They entered into Balaram's Ras Leela. And Jiva Goswami describes that the gopis of Krishna, they stood in the forest and watched the pastimes, remembering their pastimes with Krishna. So these 2 months, Balaram was dancing. One night, on this full moon night of Chaitra, Varuna sent his daughter in the form of Baruni, a type of honey wine flowing from the hollows of the trees. Balaram became intoxicated just by smelling. So immediately he began to partake of that Baruni, so much so that he became completely intoxicated and his eyes began to roll in his head. So you know, when you become a little intoxicated, then you become a little lazy. So he was seeing Jamuna was nearby, but it's a little ways to go. So he wanted to take bath, but now he's intoxicated. So without any respect, he called Jamuna nearby. Aja! Like the Brishbasis, they always talk like Bolan to Hela. Their talking is Hela, without any respect. So Balaram was a little lazy, he didn't want to walk to the Jamuna, so he told her, Aja, come here. Hey you, come on over here. I want to swim, you better come on over here. So Jamuna was insulted. If anybody will talk to you, if anybody comes, just like if you come from Lucknow, is here every 10 miles, the Hindi changes a bit. So people from Lucknow, they're shocked when they come. Because in Lucknow they would say, Idhar aaye, bet jaiye, and here they say, Aja, bet ja. And they're just shocked. So Jamuna was shocked why he's talking like this. So she refused to come. in this Leela, somehow she imagined that Balaram was just an ordinary drunk. So then Lord Balaram took his plow and he pulled her, dragged her nearby, like this. And in fact, if you go to Ramghat, that's one of the few places in Jamuna, you will see many different streams. Alag-alag Dara. There's many streams there. Even today, we were just there just about a month ago. We saw so many, at least 3 different streams of Jamuna flowing there. Then immediately she came and she fell down at the feet of Lord Balaram and began to sing the glories of Rohini Nandan. And now, because she said, now that I've surrendered under your lotus feet, you have to protect me. So then Balaram released her from his plow. And she began to serve Balaram. In fact, after the bath, she supplied nice blue garments and other flower garlands and crowns and beautiful things for Lord Balaram. So this is that Chaitra Shapas, that full moon night of the Chatra night. It is a very special night in Braj. You will see, even the monkeys won't rest tonight. It's a very restless night. You will see the monkeys will be chattering and fighting, and somehow it's a very interesting night tonight. You won't be able to sleep tonight. Very interesting. Also today is the appearance day of Shamanand. To understand Shamanand, we have to understand there was one fellow named Gauridas Pandit. We don't have time to tell the whole story, but somehow he had the only deities who were worshipped, only deities of Gaurnitai that were worshipped while Gaurnitai was present on the planet. In fact, they modeled for these deities. Because they came after taking sannyas, Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, they came to Gauridas Pandit's house and he served them very nicely. And he wanted to go, and they said, no, I won't let you go. He said, we have to do our preaching. Our mission is to spread the Sankirtan movement. No, you can't go. So then he agreed that you can have somebody make some deities. The deities are none different from us, the deities will stay. So then he agreed, all right, because he was a very clever fellow. So when the deities, Gaurnitai stood there and modeled for these deities. These deities were made by seeing Gaurnitai eye to eye, face to face. They're not ordinary deities. So when they were done, then Gauridas said, so these deities are none different from you. And Lord Chaitanya said, yes. He said, then let the deities go preach and you stay here with me. So Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, they became deities and the deities began to walk. He said, no, you stay here. No, you, wait. And then the deities, they began to walk, and the Gaurnitai, they became deities. No. Then they changed so many times, he couldn't tell who was who, and he's all right. So Gaurnitai left, and these deities stayed there. So one time, he had a very wonderful disciple named Dukhi Krishnadas. His name was Dukhi because his parents, he lived in a nearby village, and his parents, they had many children who died just after childbirth. So they named him Dukhi, thinking maybe since he's sorrowful, that death won't come near him. And it was a fact, death didn't come near this child. But he was always, even from his birth, showed signs of renunciation and great devotion for Krishna and for religious things. So one day everybody was going to the Ganga. He begged his parents to let him go, and they were very frightened to let him go. But he was, you know how the young children are. Once they decide they want to do something, there's nothing you can do about it. So they let him go. When he got to the Ganga, he ran into, we didn't finish the story. I got to Gauridas Pandit, we didn't get to Hridaya Chaitanya. So Gauridas Pandit, he had a disciple named Hridaya Chaitanya. His original name was Hridaya Govinda. And Gauridas went off for preaching. He left Hridaya Govinda in charge, and Gaur Purnima came. He thought we should have a big festival, so he invited all the Vaishnavas and he made a big festival. He didn't have any order from his guru to do it, but he just thought on his own this was a nice thing to do. So it just happened that day, Gauridas Pandit came back. He saw all these people are there in his temple, big kirtan is going on, this festival is going on. Who made this idea? He became very angry. Who told you to make all this festival? What is this? Because he was very happy. It was a very quiet place, Ambika Kalna. So he sent them all down the road. And then he personally went to the kitchen and began to cook. And Gauridas went down with everybody down the Hridaya Govinda went down the road with everybody else to have kirtan. So when he brought the plate for offering, he came to the temple door and the deities were not there. He was shocked. Then he looked down the road, he saw Gaur Nitai were dancing in the kirtan. They left the temple, they wanted a festival. So they went to the festival. So he became very angry at Hridaya Govinda. He grabbed a stick and he came running. But only Hridaya Govinda could see that Gaur Nitai were dancing with him. Nobody could understand why Gauridas is running around with the stick. Get back in the temple. They couldn't understand. Who's he talking to? He's running with this stick. Get back in the temple. Why did you come out here? Nobody. Who's he talking to? Only Hridaya Govinda could see. And he was chasing him with the stick, so he jumped inside Hridaya Govinda's heart. Then Gauridas saw that Gaur Nitai was sitting in his heart. And then he understood. And then they went back to the temple. And then from then he named him as Hridaya Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya was always living within his heart. So anyway, at the bank of the Ganga, Dukhi, he met Hridaya Chaitanya. Immediately understood, this is my eternal master. And he surrendered under his lotus feet. And Hridaya Chaitanya, recognizing the great qualities in him, he took him back to his kutir, to Ambika Kalna, to his temple, and made him his disciple. And he said, from now on, he gave him Japamala, and he said, your name is Krishnadas. And Dukhiya, he smiled, he said, yes, Dukhi Krishnadas. So he became known as Dukhi Krishnadas. So he told his guru that now I've seen Ganga, I want to see Jamuna. He said, yes, one day you will go to Jamuna. So after studying under his guru for some time, then Hridaya Chaitanya gave him permission to go to Vrindavan and stay with Jiva Goswami. So he came here to Vrindavan and he began to study along with Narottam and Srinivas under Jiva Goswami. And just so you can understand that doing even menial service in Vrindavan is so auspicious, he asked Jiva Goswami that please give me some service. This is a proper attitude. If we take knowledge from a Vaishnava, then we should ask him, how may I serve you? So Jiva Goswami said, you sweep the kunjas, because the Vaishnavas are coming, there may be some thorn, there may be some stone. They're walking through these kunjas on their way to Jamuna, on their way to their bhajan kutirs. So every day he would, simple service, taking broom. This is the lowest down. Nobody likes to do this type of work. This whole class of people just for doing this sweeping work. But he was doing this sweeping work. One day as he was sweeping, he saw this beautiful golden ankle bell was lying on the path. Very exquisite golden ankle bell, sparkling. As soon as he touched it, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So he wrapped it in his cloth. He thought, this is not ordinary thing. And he continued sweeping. Meanwhile, suddenly he saw that one very beautiful gopi has come and is looking hither and thither and hither and thither. And she saw this Dukhi Krishnadas sweeping, so she thought maybe he must have seen something. Did you see some ankle bell while you were sweeping? He said, yes. You please give it to me. My Swamini, she was dancing last night and the left ankle bracelet has fallen off. So you must return it to her immediately. He said, is it yours? No, it belongs to my Swamini. I am the most confidential servant of my Swamini. But it is gold, it is very valuable. I will only turn it into the owner. No, but I am the most confidential servant. No. It is very valuable. Only to the owner I can give. I cannot give to anyone else. Very clever fellow. So Lalita Taki went back. She told Radharani it's like this. So then Radharani personally came and she received that ankle bell from the hand of Dukhi Krishnadas. And she took that ankle bracelet and she placed it on his forehead like this. So it made a tilak mark like this. You know, this leaf part is empty because ankle bell will fall like this. I want to make a line. And then from the dust of her lotus feet, she took one bell and she put one little golden bindi. and said, you have so much love for my Sham, therefore your name will be Shamanand. So then he became known as Shamananda, and he had this very funny tilak. And he went to Jiva Goswami, explained everything to Jiva Goswami. And then gradually the news came to Hridaya Chaitanya that Jiva Goswami has given reinitiation to Dukhi Krishnadas. And he's wearing some speculation tilak. And he's given up his old name that I gave him. He's taken reinitiation from Jiva Goswami. So he grabbed all the GBC, the Chosati Mahants, they all came to Vrindavan. So where did you get this tilak? Because Guru is the one who gives us our tilak and our name. So where did you get this tilak and name? It is your mercy, Guru Maharaj. What do you mean it's my mercy? You rascal. You immediately wash off this tilak. And he took sand and he began to rub that tilak from the face of his disciple. And the more he rubbed, the brighter it began to shine. All the Vaishnavas were shocked because all the rumors went around, just like somehow or other Vrindavan is filled with rumors. In fact, if somehow or other we could find a market for rumors, our Vrindavan temple would be a Crorepati temple. You find out a market for rumors. And the more he rubbed, because everybody was saying, oh, he's reinitiated him, this speculation tilak, everybody was upset. And the more he rubbed and rubbed and rubbed, it began to shine brighter and brighter and brighter. Instead of going away, it shone brighter and brighter. Then Jiva Goswami, he revealed everything that had happened. Because he needed some special sign from Krishna, otherwise no one would believe what he was saying. So when everybody saw this, then they all fell down at the feet of Shamananda and begged forgiveness for criticizing him for his speculation tilak and his speculation name. Hridaya Chaitanya was also very happy with him, embraced him. So this is Shamananda Prabhu's, what is it, appearance day today? Appearance day. Also, and you can see that place is Radha Shyam Sundar temple is there just off of Loi Bazaar on the way to Damodar. Now they've decorated, it used to be broken down, now they've made a beautiful, fabulous temple there. A beautiful courtyard and stage and so many things. One of the few temples left that won't allow, most of the temples, only sometimes Madan Mohan, depends on their mood, they'll let you take sometimes about. But this Govinda and Shyam Sundar temple, they would never, you can get pictures on their site, shyamsundar.com, radhashyamsundar.com, but they won't allow you to take photos. And the Mahant there is I've seen him grab devotees' cameras and take out the SIM card and, not SIM card, whatever it is, the memory card. So it's one of the few places. And then across the street and down the ways, if you know where to go, you can see the little place. There's a special little shrine where Dukhi Krishnadas found that ankle bracelet of Srimati Radharani. So all these places are there in Vrindavan. Today is also Bamsi Vadan. I don't know much about him except that he was born in Kulia and he's the incarnation of Krishna's flute. Interesting. As Vishrambha Maharaj says, it's interesting. So, and he was a very dear associate of Ma Janava. In fact, they decided to, after Mahaprabhu left for take sannyas, Ma Janava and Bamsi Vadan, they could not tolerate the separation, so they decided, what's the use of keeping these bodies? They began to fast till death. And I forget who, somebody came and said, no, you take this deity and you worship. So they made this deity of Mahaprabhu, known as Dameswar Mahaprabhu. He's there now in Navadvip. He was in some other place, but now he stays in Navadvip. And Vishnu Priya used to worship him along with Bamsi Vadan, and after she disappeared, then Bamsi Vadan also worshipped. So that's about all the information I got about Bamsi Vadan today. So anyway, this very auspicious day, we're here in this beautiful place of Vrindavan Dham and Krishna Balaram Mandir. They made sweet rice today, but I don't know if they're going to make some baruni. That would have been more appropriate. Some nice baruni to... Does anybody has any questions or comments? Maharaj would like to say something more?